Hello, we've had a week's break and we're now back. Airfix and chill on the Monday night. Hope everybody's well. We had last week off because I was gigging, grab a granny night at a local boozer. So Christmas and everything else. So we had a week off, and I'm kind of glad we had a week off because of all the all what happened with Warpage, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. I think we've gone past that really. If you got a kit that's warped, unlucky. If you got one that isn't, great. You know what I mean? I will put out there that Airfix are, if you've got a major problem with the Warpage, it's bent, terribly bent, worse than a London copper from the 1960s, then I would presume you just give Airfix a little polite email when they send you out the correct part. And that's it. Just get on and build it. You've got the engine there to build, so you can easily build these bits where if you've got a bent wing, don't worry about it. Just get on with the engine in the cockpit. You'll have so much fun and joy with it. So I built my engine. I absolutely think it's fantastic. Anyways, right. So bit of house rules tonight. We're going to be talking about some deep subjects that we know that the gods and the powers that be at YouTube don't particularly like us talking about. So I did ask and insist, if you're going to make comment and stuff, that if you are going to use a forbidden German symbol, can you use the word Swazi? All right, because we know what we're talking about, or crooked cross, something like that. And we're not just going to talk about that, by the way. The idea is actual forbidden symbols and branding. So if you are a race car builder, do you get annoyed at the fact that you can't do racing cars with tobacco advertising? And also the thoughts of, we don't always see branding on tires and things like that. So that's really what we're going to get to. But first off, welcome everyone. We've got Luke from Black Rifles Model Works. Nice to see you, Luke. Jim, Ben, John Alex, Scale Modeling. We've got Barry from North Devon Model Society. We've got Zinzan, and we've got our Uber John here, our taxi cabbie.
Uber.
Don't say Uber to you, mate. Don't say Uber to you. Yeah, don't swear at you with Uber. But yeah. So I want to quickly, Mike's arrived. That's right. We'll add him as well, and then we've got Bearded Veteran as well. Right. So I want to talk about a fantastic article that I'll add it to the stage now so you can see. I'll go full screen with this so you can actually see it all. And if I go onto here, I might be able to get it to go a little bit bigger. But if you, Clint and Matt from Airfix were interviewed by a blog, and where is it to? There it is. And it's called Falcon Inns Blogspot. There's a link in the description box below where you can get this link to. And it's talking about the design with the designer Matt of this BF109 super kit and the researcher behind it, Clint. And if Clint's watching tonight, if you want to comment, mate, and let me know, and if you want to text it to me, I'll put out what you're saying. But down in the bowels of this is they're talking about the schemes, but then they talk about the Airfix not including swastikas in the decal options. And he's written, one of our largest distributors will categorically not allow Swazis or any veiled representation of them whatsoever on the products they sell. Therefore, for us to include the symbol on products in other parts of the world, we would need 2 different boxings of the same product. The cost of this is simply not viable, given that aftermarket options will likely be readily available to those who wish to include this symbol on their kits. We also have to take into consideration that the generalization or sensibilities towards the Swazi as a symbol have changed dramatically over the last couple of decades. Whilst in my generation and those before it are mostly comfortable and understand the significance of the symbol being displayed in a purely historical context,
Yeah.
more recent generations are very much against the display of the symbol in any way, shape, or form. Seeing as our products are available in many high street stores, from a marketing standpoint, we have to be sensible about how we want our products to be perceived by not just the traditional modeling community, but also the wider public. So kudos to the modelers who want to use the symbol on their builds and to the aftermarket guys who supply them. But as a company, Airfix, it saves us a whole heap of hassle not including them in our products. I personally think that basically sums up Airfix's response to anybody who ever criticizes them for not having that symbol in their box. Which brings it to the floor. Your thoughts. Do you think Airfix is right in that response? Or do you think I'll put my 10 pence in first. I don't think Airfix is trying to whitewash history whatsoever. If they did, they wouldn't be producing German aircraft.
No.
Okay.
Right.
But
I think it's wholly commercial because some markets won't allow it full stop.
Yeah.
Now, I've had recent kits, where the Swazi was in two halves. So it's on the decal sheet, but to put it together, you had to take two decals and assemble it on the tailplane. Now, I have a friend who's a German national. I see them every year, and she said that attitudes in Germany have softened, where once it was banned full stop, you can have a model in your own home with it, but you can't take it to a model show with it.
Was it not banned? It was just frowned upon. Because I'm putting it out there because I don't believe it was actually banned.
If it's on a genuine artifact, it's okay, but replica was a no-no.
In certain countries, it is banned.
Right.
It is banned to display in public.
Yeah.
And you're right, if it's a historical artifact, then there's an exception to the ban. But if it's something that's produced after 1945, then it's banned. And it's certainly banned for it to be in public. But the reason for the ban, and this is, I think, where people get, we get all this rubbish on every forum going, they're trying to erase history by not. No. That's not the reason. The reason that it's banned is because since the end of the Second World War, there are lots of groups that have a particular political ideology that have adopted that particular symbol to represent them as a group and to represent their ideology. Yeah. And that's why it's banned. And that's certainly why it's banned by the likes of Facebook or Meta, YouTube, Instagram, and all that. Because if they didn't ban it, then a lot of these groups operate on social media. And therefore, all of a sudden, you will get this influx of that particular symbol from certain groups promoting a certain ideology. It's nothing to do with erasing history. It's nothing to do with trying to cover up what went on back in the Second World War. That's not what it's about. It's about the adopting of the symbol by far-right groups. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Fair enough. I've just had a quick look on Google because Google is our friend. If I share the screen, it's a swastika banned. It says here whether the swastika is legal depends on the country. Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, China, Czech Republic, France, Hungary, Israel, obviously Israel, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Poland, Romania, Russia, Serbia, Slovakia, Sweden, and Switzerland, the public display of the Nazi Swazi is illegal in these countries, with some exceptions for educational purposes. So, but countries where it is legal, owning or selling Nazi memorabilia is not illegal, but using Nazi symbols in a way that is threatening, abusive, or insulting, or with the intention to stir up racial hatred, is illegal. So, but the same in Canada, it's so you are talking about something that has got leverage in law, if you see what I mean, and it can be used for other things as well. So,
but
pretty much
the decision by Airfix to not include it in their kit is absolutely a commercial decision, because you've just reeled off a whole list of countries, where the symbol is outlawed.
Yes,
unless it falls into an exception of a historical artifact, educational purposes. Well, a model kit is neither of those.
Yeah.
So they then limit their market massively, because they cannot sell that product. And like it says in that article, they would have to have 2 boxes, 2 decal sheets, etc., etc., and that's not commercially viable. And if you want to put it on there so you're historically accurate, I don't see that being any different than adding wiring to an engine, adding anything else to a kit to enhance the detail, enhance the accuracy. It's no different. And they're so easy to get hold of. There's so much aftermarket out there. I think people just need to shut up, really, because all they do by saying, "Oh, they're trying to erase history," they're trying to do, all they're doing to people that know better is illustrating their lack of knowledge. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. Martin saying the massive double standard, read the extreme right-wing symbols, ridiculous. How come it's okay to depict the symbols of the Stalinist regime, which slaughtered over 12 people? I think it was 12 million people. 12 million, I get that. Right. So I'm going to say this straight. We're not. Airfix isn't. They are upholding the laws of the land that have been in place since the 1950s, and I think the Nazi symbol was banned. That's why I keep saying, from after the war, that was it, gone. We don't want to see it again. So,
and bear in mind, we're not arguing that it's right or wrong.
Right.
What we're saying is that these laws exist in certain countries because of that reason. That's not the model making community or a model manufacturer making that decision. They're making a commercial decision based on where they can market their products. That's all they're doing. The fact that the Stalinist symbol isn't illegal in those countries is a matter for their legislators, not a matter for anyone else.
Or the rising sun, right?
Yeah, that's another one. I want to say, actually, I think the rising sun may be banned in China, actually.
Lots of things are banned in China.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, true, but I think it's one of the few sort of
free speech, the internet, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot. Of People's Republic doesn't want that.
I think the rising sun is still Japan's naval ensign.
It is, I think, possibly, but I know in China, I'm pretty certain that's banned, and that's also one of the reasons. For example, Trumpeter, if you notice in their ship range, there's very few Japanese ships, especially of the Second World War era. Don't think they do a single one of the Second World War. They do post-war, but they don't do anything in the Second World War. And again, I think that's in a similar vein to, that of obviously what the Swazi is representative of.
Right. So the Soviet Red Star, the rising sun, and the Swazi, right? They were all.
But I think because model makers in general, and the exception doesn't disprove the rule, because model makers have an interest in history, and particularly military history, World War I, World War II, they will associate certain symbols with what that particular regime did
Correct.
during that period of time.
And that's
But
why
as I've just tried to explain, that is not the reason that that symbol is outlawed in various countries. It's outlawed because of people that adopt the symbol for their own political ideology, their own extremist views, and they will adopt that symbol. That's why it's banned. It's nothing to do with what happened in the Second World War. It's nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah.
As for the comment below, I often wonder why Airfix didn't include them. They did in some boxings. Was it the Comet, when that was first released, had it. The 109E, when it was first released, had them. I've got Frog kits that's got it on the decal sheet.
So did Matchbox.
Yeah.
But perhaps at that time they were using a different distributor.
I mean,
That's right. And you remember the last time Airfix had that symbol on a box art was the Stuka back in 1976. And by 1978, they had basically don't put it on screen. Don't put it on screen, John. What did I just say at the beginning?
I'm just saying they've got them on the decal sheet. That's 75.
All you had to say is that. Honestly, I'm here like fighting a chunk out of your chair.
Honestly, you couldn't write it. Honestly, never worked with children, animals, and monkeys.
Never worked with children, animals, and people from the northeast.
It's all right.
out there.
You mentioned a Stuka. You mentioned a Stuka. When the 109 E24 scale first came out, it had it.
That had one, yeah.
And the E-boat had it.
Yeah.
So that's been changed.
But they've all been changed. They've all sanitized the box art to remove that cross, or the crooked cross. So, oh dear me. I'm surprised America's got a ban up now, but as I said, so there was already a sway of Airfix was now entering other markets, and they felt that, public opinion, and do not get me wrong, right? Airfix is known, right, for causing issues to end up being in the Houses of Commons. Even when they did that bombed out Afghan building, they got slammed for that in all the national newspapers. So, Airfix isn't, I think Airfix have got a right to be scared to fart in case they shit themselves in these situations. But I just want to bring out this comment here, and I think, Paul, you are bang wrong on this. If you ban that, and I did say, Paul, don't use this in the comments, all right, this word. You can ban most of the car brands. No, you can't. It's a totally different.
And that's just, again, illustrating that people don't understand why that particular symbol is outlawed in many countries of the world. It's nothing to do with what the regime did. That is not why the legislators have banned that symbol. They banned it because that symbol is adopted still to this day by groups and people with a certain ideology. What you don't see is the far right flying flag with the Ford badge on it or the BMW badge on it. You don't see that. That is why. It's nothing to do with what happened in the war. Nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I'm saying, I've just, it's totally that, far right groups use the symbol. And we're at the detriment of those of, I think it's the Hindu religion, who,
it's a different way around, but
because look at Finland, like,
the other way,
Finch just texted me here, and he said that Finland got a raw deal because they were using the Swazi as their national marking on their aircraft since 1918 because they considered it a lucky symbol. Then the Nazis screwed it up for them, and he said that we even have to go through Roy Cross's old artwork and Photoshop out the Swazis we have little contest in the office who can find the Swazis hidden in the paintings, like on German soldiers, helmets, flags, and German ships, especially on the vintage classic releases. Because, like you said, you can go through and it would have them print, on the helmets, and you have to go through and make sure that there isn't that symbol on there. And like I said, Airfix haven't done this to whitewash history. They're following the international standards of the lands and the laws of the lands that their products are ended up in. So don't go about,
If you're that concerned about historical accuracy, then you can do it. There are manufacturers out there that produce it. The same way, if you're that concerned about the accuracy of an engine, you can wire it in such a way that it's the correct firing order. There are ways of doing things, but for a mainstream manufacturer, they have to make a commercial decision, and their decision is based purely on what their main distributor, according to that article, will accept or not. And they're there to make money. It's a business. So they have to pander to that. That doesn't mean that you cannot produce an historically accurate model should you choose to do it. And that is a personal choice. I'm probably the most unwoke, unpolitically correct person. Those that know me know that. However, I also have the base level of intelligence to understand that Airfix have to make a commercial decision.
Yeah.
So I think there's actually only one company that does the Swazi on their artwork and even may include it in the kit in subsections, which is AZ Model.
Yeah.
The rest don't. So AZ, I think, does it on German aircraft, so you get the German Swazi, but then also they do the Finnish Swazi, which is blue and white and sat at 90 degrees compared to an
it's
angle.
a slightly different angle, isn't it?
It's a slightly different angle, but if you then look at, for example, I think ICM did some Finnish kits. They literally have a cross. That's it. They don't have the additional elements. So that shows even there, again, it's a commercial choice, because I'm sure AZ Model won't be sold in certain countries. So they're a bit like, it's a commercial choice. That's what it is.
ICM have included it in some of their kits, like in the Desert Half Track. What they've done is they split it in half and put a palm tree in the middle.
But they would not be able to.
Symbol for the Africa Corps.
Yeah. But the problem is with that is that the problem is with that is that, like I was about to say, I was reading about this a couple of months ago, and I think Luke must have read the same article I did. Somebody, or post, I should say, on Facebook. Somebody was moaning that their trumpeter kit came, and where the symbol was in two halves, they had marker pen put over it.
Okay.
So, then this is what I'm saying, is that you go on about these sort of things saying, oh, we're whitewashing history. If you want to put a swastika, she's saying Swazi, I know, Swazi on your kit.
Check the bench in the swear box.
I'm trying not to say it. As I don't want to get this. I don't want to lose this opportunity of talking about it. That's what I'm trying to get. But anyway, so you've got the. If you want to do it, no one is stopping you buying an aftermarket sheet, and even they're saying what they're doing is protecting themselves. Airfixes and other manufacturers as well, of not putting that symbol in there. And also, I think that there are some that if they open up that box, I'm talking about distributors in Germany or in Europe, for instance, that they will put a marker pen through it just to protect themselves, because they can't sell it. You cannot sell it in that land.
And Clint has clearly said in that article, either the symbol itself or a veiled version of, i.e., two halves, 4 quarters, whatever it may be, that's a veiled version of that symbol.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. That's like saying you can't take a firearm into a public place, but you can take all the bits to make one once you're there. No, it doesn't work like that. It is what it is.
It is, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I was in Germany from 1979 to 1984, courtesy of the government Killbot factory. And you go into somewhere like Woolworths, and there's this great big black diamond on the tailplanes for all the Luftwaffe kits. And they'd actually cut those decals out of the decal sheet before they'd sell it. What it's like now, I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody's put a comment up. My Trumpeter 1/16 Hanomag had certain symbols of the decal sheet deleted with a marker pen and a white sticker up the top. Yeah. I think
it depends if that was from factory sealed, because then that shows that, for example, at factory they're changing it, or if it's a case of the distributors.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when I bought stuff, because I can't remember what kit it was one of them. It was a ship. The German Navy decided, for identifying purposes, to stick very large versions of these symbols on the deck, which really was a terrible idea because it gave away what you were. And Trumpeter, for example, they include it sectioned, but I bought a kit from Europe because I couldn't get it anywhere else. And the distributor had obviously opened up the decal sheet and had put a great big sticker on it. So therefore I couldn't use it. So I think it's more of a distributor thing, possibly.
I'm currently building the Bismarck in 350th. Well, obviously in the kits, those for a particular scheme of that ship.
Yep.
They don't come in the kit. So I went aftermarket. But even when I got the aftermarket decals, they were still in quarters. They weren't the entire symbol. You had to.
I think Cannons might be the only
one.
So
it's across the board, really. You might get the odd manufacturer or whatever that doesn't have to make that commercial.
Exactly. Is a Swazi in two parts of the decal sheet a good acceptable commercial choice?
No, it says in the article.
Yeah, that's it. That's not going to work for Airfix. I don't think Airfix want any issue. And Out 92 has said that they actually do that if they send any kit to Glow to be at the factory in China. They will mark a pen out those decal sheets.
Right.
If it goes to Glow to be, and I believe somebody also wrote out that Tommy has done that also, cut out some marker traces. So they've cut out, and Special Hobby built a U2 being from China. They had to split the Taiwan Roundo into quarters.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
So the extra decal set does come in one piece.
Yeah.
You'll just have to believe me. I'm not showing you.
No, I think this convo needs Mark Felton.
Yeah.
I think this convo needs. Yeah, I think this convo needs Mark Felton. He covered this recently in one of his videos. He did. Hey, mind you, he had that flag, didn't he? We didn't put that on. He didn't put that on the thumbnail, did he? He hit that one a little bit. No, Paul, you haven't upset anyone, Paul. But like I said, I think you're mixing up branding and symbols, and I think you're a little bit misguided. But no, you haven't upset anyone. You need to read up on the exemptions, especially German law. It has those for certain things. If you'd note that the Germans don't win in those. Okay. But yeah, and you got Travis who clearly says, I put correct symbols on every model I build. I'm also perfectly okay with a company not including them in a kit. I'm not going to cry on the internet about it. That's absolutely fine. But there are people who have said in the comments, I'm not buying it. Ain't got a symbol on it. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, good grief.
Get a life.
Honestly, get a life, lads. It's nothing. And it's like, and then you've got the same article, the same debate raging at the moment with the racing lot, the car racers.
Mm-hmm.
They are bemoaning the fact that they can't do accurate Formula One cars, for instance, because tobacco advertising is banned around the world, literally. Do they have the same issues? Yes, they do. But what do? They go and buy an aftermarket decal from people who are willing to do also, the big gamble of that is the fact that these brands are trademarks as well, whereas the Swazi isn't. So licensing. So have we got any racing car guys that bemoans the fact that Tamiya don't release that certain Formula One car which has Rothmans all down the side of it? Do you know what I mean? That's not been released for about 20 years now, if I believe, and it's because one they can't.
The FW14B, I think, did one release only, which was in the 90s.
Yeah, but that's got camel on it, isn't it? Is it got camel on it? That one is it the camel advertising, and they won't release it because what do you do?
They won't have the rights, but also the problem with Formula One cars is licensing full stop, because it's literally a walking ad, or it's a driving advertising board. Even in the 90s, whereby I think even the Williams will be trademarked and logoed, and you have to get there. I mean, what they could do, in theory, is just produce a car. However, that car is now going to be intellectual property, and that is a nightmare to negotiate IP rights. And I would say if Tamiya did their decision, because let's say talk about Formula One cars, say they wanted to reproduce the Williams car maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, they probably could have done it relatively cheaply and the cost wouldn't have gone up too much. The fact that Williams is now, I think, worth over £1 billion or something ridiculous, the IP charge alone would be astronomical. I mean, the kit would probably have to retail for £500 just to cover the charges. So you have that as well.
So my point is that in every part of our modelling, in the hobby itself, is scale modelling. It's not just that German symbol that can cause offence or not offence. There's legitimate reasons why we can't do accuracy from out of the box, because there's laws and stipulations in the land that don't allow it unless you want to print your own decals. And I think I was actually talking to Brian a few weeks back about this, because he just reminded me now, because we were talking, and he said that there are issues with die-cast vehicles Dinky produced a Robertson's Jam delivery van, and you can't restore that on YouTube, same as the JPS Lotus, because the golly is an offensive. Yeah, it's banned. It's offensive. It's not banned, I suppose, but so it's not just that. But should we really? I think the whole point of it all, and I'm going to go on to the fact about the people who bemoan the fact that they don't have Bridgestones printed on the side of a tyre. You know what I mean? And Michelin. Is there more things in this world to moan about, except Warpage?
Apparently not.
And people are vehement. They are very, very loud about the fact that they can't produce something accurate because it's missing one symbol or two symbols, one for the rear, one for the front.
Yeah, but they can. I would understand people bitching and moaning if they couldn't do it. But the fact that I'd have a set of dead items down there. I can get generally every car decal scheme that you could ever want, because someone out there is willing to take the risk of getting sued because they'll do them in such small batches. Okay, they're not. I could understand if they're not cartograph quality, and maybe that is the issue. But for the little black symbol, doesn't really matter. For the cars, I can understand, but there are alternatives for people out there. I just think people, to some extent, and a bit to be like Luke, need to just get a grip and just get on with their lives and stop bloody moaning. There's worse things to moan about, and the
thing that gets me,
if you feel so way inclined, go do it yourself. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The thing that gets me is that if people go on and on about you can't build an accurate kit when it's out of the box, so they get aftermarket parts. What's the difference? They get decals for various markings. It's no different, is it?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Do we really need to? We're having this discussion tonight because it was quite clear that some of the comments on my video about or on the post that I put up about this Messerschmitt,
Yeah.
there was a handful who had said, and I've seen plenty more, and berating Airfix for not putting a particular symbol in a box. And you're wondering, there's so much more you could be groaning about than worrying about not buying something because you can't make a historically accurate such and such. And I'm just wondering sometimes, are we scale modelers that pampered now with pampered? I'm using the word pampered because I've said this many times, and I'm not probably repeating myself. I think scale modeling has won in this day and age. We have nearly every model that you could ever think of, remaking. You have every single paint going, whether in aftermarket, now 3D resin and everything. Are we as scale modelers now bitching about these little things because we haven't got anything better to bitch about because we've already got what we wanted?
There's an interesting saying which is used sometimes, and it regards St. George looking for smaller dragons to slay.
Exactly.
Correct.
I mean,
let's have an easier job of it, Zin.
I think
Maybe so.
I mean, this is likely to get me cancelled.
Don't get me cancelled, though, Luke.
No, I won't get you cancelled. But my view, the reality is, and we all are members of modelling clubs, we all run modelling clubs, we all have YouTube channels, whatever. We go to shows. Modelling, scale modelling, is a very small niche hobby.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, you compare it to gaming, for example, it's tiny. People take it very, very seriously, myself included.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of people in this hobby that are incredibly narrow-minded. They live in a bubble, and so it gives them some sort of authority or perceived power about a plastic toy. That's what it does. And we all
creeps looking for validation
on almost a daily basis. But the reality is there is a massive, massive world out there. And these companies that have to operate in the commercial environment are making commercial decisions based on what legislators are legislating against.
Yeah.
And they're not legislating it because John down the road wants to put a swastika on his 109.
Ooh, 10 pence and swear jar.
They couldn't give two shits about him building a model. What they are concerned about is the far right groups that are promoting ideology by adopting that particular symbol.
That's
the people that ban tobacco decals and kits, the legislators, they didn't ban it because someone wants to put Marlboro on an F1 car. Plastic toy. They didn't do it for that reason. They banned tobacco advertising because it was costing the health service worldwide billions and billions of dollars to treat smoking-related illnesses. That's what. Yeah. But unfortunately, in this hobby, because it's very insular, it's an inward-looking hobby.
Yes.
And therefore, people forget that there's this whole massive world out there. And this legislation is the legislation that commercial companies have to make a decision whether they're going to operate within the law set by the legislators or the smaller people that will make the aftermarket decals, and I've got folders full of them, are willing to take the risk because they're not going to come to the attention of the
essentially
whatever nation it may be. And that's
what
it.
You're saying is,
you need to forget about it. It's not that you can't build it, you can build it. As Ben said, you just have to go aftermarket for the decals.
Yeah,
that's it. And if it bothers you that much, then spend the extra 10 quid and go and buy the aftermarket decals. It's really simple.
You've essentially made out that all modelers are megalomaniacs.
And while you're there, you can buy some 3D printed tires as well to get your Michelins and your track.
But you can even buy the decals for the tire walls.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you cannot get.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't live in North Korea.
Exactly.
So you can go and get this stuff. It just takes a little bit of effort and maybe a few pounds.
But what about my what if decals?
£100 on a kit, is it really good? And you're that bothered about it that you've spent a fortnight whinging on the internet. Just go and spend a tenner. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
So does that mean, Luke, I can happily moan about my what if decals not existing for the schemes that are not real? I feel I have a right to complain about that.
But isn't that the problem with the world now? Everyone thinks they've got a right to complain about everything. But we won't get onto that.
Well, everybody has a right to complain about everything. That
just don't have to listen.
That doesn't mean I have to listen to your complaint, really, or give it any. I mean, look, it comes down.
It
to
holds
that.
no water.
Yeah,
Exactly. It holds
too many people live in echo chambers where everybody agrees with them, and then when they come out into the real world and then discover people who can fabricate really good arguments against their position, they don't know what to do about it. And the first thing they tend to do about this is to lift up their hands and their voices and start going, "You're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong," type of thing. And this is silly.
I think the top and tail of it, really, regardless of the symbol, whether it's tobacco, the symbol that appears to have dominated the conversation so far, whatever tire wall markings, whatever it may be, you can get them quite easily. It's not like you're trying to smuggle cocaine from Venezuela.
Exactly.
No one's going to die. It's quite simple.
So where I just want to see that. You don't see much nose art. Maybe that's banned. I don't know. I think Airfix pulled a blinder with one of them when they were showing the balls in a comedy caricature, didn't they? So,
but some companies will not include the correct nose art for that aircraft because, as we all know, particularly in World War II, some of the nose art in the current world we live in would be considered offensive.
Totally sexist.
So therefore, they just don't include it in their kits. However, if you want to put that nose art on that particular aircraft, you can go aftermarket and get it. It's really not difficult. Or up your game and paint it.
Yeah, exactly. Like as Brian again, the thing that annoys me is we're always driving for accuracy in modelling, but on YouTube we can't show the finished product. Yeah, I've had a video taken down which showed off the forbidden symbol, and I had to do a course about right wing.
That's interesting. I've never had problems with it.
But no, that's what I mean. We have got to a stage. I get it.
Yeah.
Also,
YouTube is a commercial platform, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So they don't care if you had 15 million subscribers. Then a conversation may take place because YouTube don't want to lose a channel that has 15 million subscribers because commercially they make money from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone with less than 1 million subscribers, they do not care.
Oh, thank God for that.
They would rather delete the video, delete the channel, whatever it may be, because they've shown a particular symbol. The risk some sort of lawsuits from people way outside of the hobby that are going to bring a lawsuit against YouTube, which is likely to be millions and millions of dollars for potential offense that's been caused. Do I agree with it on a personal level? Absolutely not. I'm a free speech absolutist. And I'll die on that hill. However, that is not the world we live in. So these companies will make a commercial decision. That's it.
It is. You're bang on. It's a commercial decision, like everything. It's like I've just texted some people that could be in the know. It's how much would a kit be cheaper if you did have to pay for licensing? because that's a big thing.
Massively.
If you look at the Seeking that Airfix brought out, I think they were talking about that if they would have to have contacted all these different brands, like the tire people, you know, and you can look in the back of the catalogue on the Airfix catalogue, and you can see all of the people that they have brand deals with, you know, and that all costs money. You know, you've got, there you go, license acknowledgements, McLaren, Lamborghini, Bugatti, Ford, Land Rover, Volkswagen, Lockheed Martin, General Motors, Jeep, Northrop Grumman, Pagani, and then the new one, which is the LEVC, even the London Taxi, they had to either pay some sort of right to license. You know, Audi, Lifeboat's totally different. Adam Opel. When did they become Adam Opel? Aston Martin, BAE Systems, Boeing. You know, even the RAF, the Red Arrows, is trademarked.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're talking mega. You know, they will also want to, you know, do that. So, you know, it's just, you know, it's all
Save a few more.
A lot of the choices that these companies, I'm going to try and get, a lot of the choices these companies are doing is commercial choices. You know, do they pay for one brand or one licensing and then not put Michelin on the side of a tire just to save that few extra quid? Or shall they just do it all and then put what they have to spend on licensing on the cost of the kit that comes to us? Then we bemoan them that the price of a 63-part Airfix kit is now £24.99, not £22.99, because £2 of that has been put into paying for the right to use Boeing or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And so this is the whole thing. Is problematic branding is what the whole thing is. And yeah, it is like that. So it's what it is. If you want to spend money and make accurate, just going back to Adam Smith's comment, which I think is quite important. Hi guys, great show as always. Watching while making us with some food. Oh, good for you. Heinz frying champs. Is that symbol brand marked up or down if put into a competition? No, it's never been about that. It's about overall presentation. If you put that symbol and it's on crooked and it looks crap, you're going to be marked down for it. But I don't think having it on or off will gain you points. I think the presentation of the model and you've got it peeling off, that will knock you down points. I think that's what that means. I don't think people can, and also accuracy is subjective anyway. You know, you can look at something and think that doesn't look right, but you don't know that actually it's supposed to look like that because that's how it, you know, do you see what I mean? It's a difficult one, but I wouldn't.
We could ask Jim.
Yeah, Jim will know.
Jim.
Oh, Jim is asleep then. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Moz is correct. Yeah, it's based on what you did, and if it's accuracy, then no, because if you're going to judge accuracy, you have to know everything about every airplane, tank, whatever in the class, and nobody knows everything about everything. So therefore, that's why it's not. That wouldn't be. If it's not there, it's fine. If it's there, well, then it needs to be done right. That's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do it right. Yeah, exactly. That's why Tamiya doesn't make their excellent Ferrari kits anymore. They didn't want to pay the license fee anymore. Well, the difficult one. It is.
I wouldn't build this year's car anyway. It's terrible.
Is it bad, is it?
Oh, Ferrari this year is just rubbish, but yeah, there we go.
And from an Italian, what is that about?
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm just sitting here going, when will the season end?
Yeah. Accuracy is subjective. Take invasion stripes as a case point. Yeah, but that's not licensing, is it? He'll trademark or copyright, or it's not really going to cause offense. But you are right. Accuracy is subjective.
Well, you could do a Beetlejuice one. It would be.
Yeah. Hot Wheels only recently started selling Ferrari cars again after 20 years of absence due to not paying licensing. Yeah, that's true. Also, here's good. Let's put a bit of fuel on the fire. There's certain Corgi kits that have the forbidden symbol on them. Just saying.
The same with Dinky.
Dinky.
The Dinky Stuka, the 109, but those, well, they were stickers, they weren't decals, they were actually stickers which you had to peel off a sheet and put them on yourself. So as supplied, they had nothing on them.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I'm to understand what Clint has said in that article, and if I'm understanding it correctly, it's not Airfix per se or the Hornby Group or of which Corgi is part of. It's not them that's making the decision. The decision is being made by Airfix because of the rules of their main distributor. So if they want to use that distributor to sell their kits around the world, they have to play by their rules. The same as if you want to put a video on YouTube or you want to put an image on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, you have to abide by the rules of the platform. It's no different.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally right.
It's their sandpit. You play in their rules, and that's life. That is life. You live in the United Kingdom. The government. It's their sandpit. We abide by their rules. And the same with Germany. Same with America.
Yeah.
Like and you can say, for instance, America's got very good free speech laws. You get that.
And if you choose not to, then you accept there may be a consequence to your actions. And Airfix have made the decision that commercially the consequence isn't worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but haven't they made that decision for years and years and years and years now?
They've maybe used the same distributor for that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same with Tamiya and other companies that build Formula One cars. They've made that decision because it's a commercial decision.
Absolutely.
Well, somebody made a good point in the chat before, saying that in the 70s or before YouTube, nobody really cared about the fact they didn't include certain symbols and certain advertising. So do you think possibly YouTube creators have sort of created echo chambers which has amplified the problem?
No.
Yes.
Not YouTube, no. I just think it's pokery.
I think unfortunately we live in a very woke world now.
No, you've misunderstood what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, do you think it's made people talk about them more and get more on the high horse about the fact that the companies aren't including it?
No,
I see what you mean.
Because a lot of it disappeared in the mid-70s. As I said before, Airfix used to include them in a number of their kits, and in the mid-70s they just stopped.
Yeah.
So that must have happened in the mid-70s.
Perhaps they were using a different distributor in the mid-70s, or because of the way society is now, nothing to do with YouTube, but because of the way society has changed over the last 4 decades and now is so woke that the distributor, even if it's the same one that they were using back in the mid-70s, maybe the distributor has made a commercial decision not to distribute that symbol because of X, Y, Z. And therefore, Airfix have had to make a decision, or Hornby Group have had to make a decision, that if they continue to use that particular company to distribute Airfix model kits, then they will not be allowed to include that symbol or a veiled version of. I don't think it's anything to do with YouTube. YouTube is just playing by the rules that society has set for it.
Yeah,
but I think what Mike.
Sorry, go on,
Mikey. No, I was going to say I agree with you, Mikey, because I think it's more forums and personalities per se have discussed it, and it comes up every few years. It's not a common discussion all the time, but it just seems to reappear every so often, and I think it is just generally people coming into the hobby, or like Mikey says, YouTubers, personalities, or people on forums. Naturally, because people are more connected, the question gets asked every so often, rather than just a case of back in the 70s where you're all sort of, again, I wasn't born in the 70s, so tell me if I'm wrong, but all separated up. Yeah, thank you. All separated, not really having it, having to pick up the old phone and, spin it up or whatever, get the hamster running around for electricity. they weren't as connected, and you couldn't connect and have those issues. I think sort of social media allows, because everyone's connected instantly, instead of just the conversation changing, dying and stopping, it just goes in a cycle where it's a topic of discussion, it ends, someone new comes in, picks it back up again, and we just go round and round in circles. And I think that's why.
Yeah,
I think that's why it happens generally, because someone's always new, asks the same question, and then it just kicks the whole debate off again.
Yeah,
and also we're more vocal now, aren't we? Not just, as you said, to next door neighbor. Twitter, everybody says it's a cesspool of the internet, and to be fair with you, it's right. If I want to find out who's been being naughty and being arrested,
It's a very
I go on Twitter to find out
platform.
what the name is. You know?
Twitter's very good for unfiltered information in terms of
It
if you
is
you
a
have to
very-
prepare yourself.
It is a
But
very
it's-
toxic platform.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for getting information quickly, but bearing in mind the information that comes out is probably going to be very wrong and warped to some extent, and eventually it might get corrected. But it's literally generally unfiltered.
Yeah.
So just
But
have to prepare yourself.
having said that, we seem to have lost the ability, whether it be as society as a whole or as individuals in this hobby, to apply an element of common sense and an element of critical thinking. So unfiltered information, people take that, oh, well, I saw it on X, so it must be true. I saw it on Facebook, so it must be true. And that's across the board. It just seems more prevalent in this particular hobby, and I believe, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, I think that is exactly the reason. And you're absolutely right. YouTube has just brought all those idiots together and created an echo chamber. That's all it's done. But I don't think the legislation is as a result of YouTube. I think YouTube just plays by the rules of the existing legislation.
Yeah. I remember it's a commercial and they don't want to upset the advertisers, like what happened with the Children Gate thing, and all of a sudden we were panicking, making sure that our videos were not made for kids. There's always something to sue. Yeah.
I'm going to end up on the sex offenders register because I make YouTube. No, you are not. No, you are not. Just because some twat has said that on social media doesn't mean that's the reality. If you're that bothered, take legal advice. And they'll explain it to you.
Yeah,
I think part of the problem about social media, I mean, we don't actually know what the long-term effect of it's going to be psychologically to the population anyway. But
they know it's already starting to harm young kids and that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there is a body of evidence to suggest that is the case. But the issue is that it's instant. People say what they think. Immediately it comes into their heads, tap, 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 send. Rather than in the old days, you might think about something for a minute and get really quite annoyed about it, and then you'd write a letter or something,
exactly.
Card, and then the next day before you go to put it in the envelope, you'd think, sorry, I'm afraid I've had a time to think about that, and what I've said is complete twaddle. I'm going to moderate my thinking. There is nothing there that will moderate thinking. Now,
there's no serious immediate consequence either, is there?
Yeah,
there is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, that coupled with the fact that it's very difficult to moderate your thinking on a platform of this kind, and this is one of the uncommon areas of the internet that we have, is that what's happening in this group today and out in the chat is that people are thinking out loud, and then they are having their thinking moderated by other people. That is how speech should work, and that is why freedom to speak is an excellent idea, because if you cannot speak, you cannot think. So whilst we might say, when we hear something particularly daft sometimes, oh, for goodness sake, that is a form of moderation. The people who respond very badly to you because they don't believe what you say, that is their form of moderation. It's not a very good form of moderation to shout fascist at you or something like that. Or so many.
I've never had that since then. No, I have a lot.
No,
Yeah.
It's a very poor quality answer. You know, it's a fallacious argument. You know, he's a witch. He's a witch. Burn the witch and don't listen to anything the witch says.
Yeah, but throw the witch in the water. If she doesn't drown, then set fire to her.
He's a witch. Murder!
The outcome.
It's nonsense.
You turned me into a newt. I got better.
If the internet was 5 minutes less immediate, well, two things would happen. One is that this chat show would take about 3 days to screen. But the other thing is, I suspect, and you know, turn me into a newt if you want, is that people would have a chance to think, and they would maybe modify what they say.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And one thing you did say is, if we lose the ability to speak, then we lose the ability to think.
Yeah,
and that is so true. And unfortunately, at the moment, we do live in a world where we have lost the ability to speak. I don't really mind what anyone says. Whether I agree with it or not is my moderation to apply critical thinking to what they've said. Offense is personal. What would offend me may not offend the person next to me, and vice versa. It's a personal thing, but if we lose the ability of free speech, we lose the ability to think. And anyone in the UK that thinks they have free speech is sadly mistaken.
Yeah. Well, as I
go on, Moss.
go on. Just one thing. Somebody just made a comment there saying that Australia are thinking of banning social media to the under 16s. To me, that's free speech going, because the government are stepping in to ban children on social media. Hang on a minute. When did we decide that the government should be deciding what happens to our kids? It should be the parents who should be policing what their kids see and watch. I was brought up in the 80s, and my mother wouldn't let me watch any film that was more than PG, okay? Because she made a choice saying that that film is not appropriate to your age, and I never watched it. Well, I had my friends that, their parents let them watch The Fly or RoboCop. I didn't watch that till I was 16, 17 years old. But I did watch Dirty Dancing. But my mum watched that film and thought it would be okay for me to watch it because she watched it first. So when it comes to social media, the parents should be saying to the kids, no, when you're 16, you can then use social media. It shouldn't be up to the government to put a ban on social media to kids. It should be the parents.
The issue is that social media is still a very new concept to us as a species. And as Zinzan said, we don't know the outcome yet. As a species, we're playing catch up. And I don't think we've seen anything yet. You wait till AI, give it another 5 years and wait until they can manufacture a politician or someone of influence saying something. We've seen what's happened over the last few weeks with a mainstream media outlet and what they did. And it's still very much in its infancy. Give it another 5 years and what will happen? But unfortunately now, no one wants to take responsibility for their own actions, whether that be their parenting, whether that be their day-to-day life. They want someone to turn up, wave a magic wand and make it all better.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, as Jim would say, that's not very nice. Well, guess what? The world isn't very nice. Go for a walk, grow a pair, and get on with it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Wait a minute. Is that the new sign? What is it? Something and carry on, whatever, model on and carry
Keep calm,
on.
carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. Model
calm and carry on.
model and keep calm, or whatever it is.
We've got the new one from Luke now. Grow a pair and carry on.
Go for a walk and carry
on. Or go for a walk and grow some, or grow a pair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That covers it.
Waiting to Skynet. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Just
God,
going back
that's
to the thought of, would you be prepared to spend £2 on a kit extra if the company had licensed the brand? So you had Rolls Royce on the side of an engine, Bridgestone or Goodyear Dunlop on the side of the tires, and have the logos on the vehicle when they've paid for it? Or would you rather them keep the £2 and just build the plane without those sort of brands on them?
The problem
I don't
is
think
not
that
to quit.
I can't see that going particularly far. I'll give you an example. In fact, I'll give you two examples. One is the North American XB70, which was licensed by the company that now owns what was North American. And the other is Lockheed Martin, who licensed their name and the Lockheed P-38 symbols to Tamiya for the Lightning.
Yeah.
I believe, and I could be corrected on this, but I think that the way that the commerciality works on this is it's not £2 a box, not even close to that.
Mm.
You get to a point where you think, oh, we're going to make a Lightning, a P-38. We need to speak to Lockheed about this, and Lockheed say, yes, you can use our logo. It's going to cost you this much money to do this. And you then look at that and think, right, let's put that into the forecast. How many are we going to sell? Are we going to sell, I don't know, 160,000 over the next 25 years? So actually, this 14 shillings and sixpence that Lockheed want to charge us makes a lot of sense. We can do this. We think there's the demand. That's how the commercial decision is made. And when companies don't produce Ferraris anymore, I suspect it's probably not due to Lightning. It's not due to licensing. It's probably due to the fact they're not selling enough to make it commercially viable to do so. That is my and yes, Boeing owns North American. So thank you very much to Emma Bird, 9745, which I believe is not the year of her birth.
No.
So there we are. Yes.
Another case in point.
Go on.
Another case in point. Vintage classic range is the Opel Blitz and Gun. Now it's the Pack 40 and truck because they didn't want to pay for the licensing from Opel.
Well, there was a case of that because they've got Opel in their licensing brand deals underneath.
Yeah, but it's not on the box. It used to be Opel Blitz and Gun.
Yeah.
Now it's Pack 40 and truck.
But wasn't it called originally the Pack 40?
Yeah,
no, it was originally called the Opel Blitz and Pack 40 Gun.
40.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's not called the Opel Blitz anymore. It's just Pack 40 and truck.
But also, does the current variation of Opel actually own the IPR to that particular Opel? Because, for example, the brand name could have been sold on, and it might not include legacy stock or legacy IPR. It may only be the Opel brand name, because I think Opel is owned by Vauxhall, or Opel owns Vauxhall, whatever which way around it is. So that could be why as well. So whilst they have the modern Opel, they may not have the IPR rights to the legacy Opel. Hence, it's then a truck and Pack 40 rather.
Yeah,
could be. Don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting actually because Hella released that kit and they never called it an Opel when they released it. It was just called a Pack 40 gun and truck.
Yeah, that's what the current vintage classic releases.
It does make you wonder how much Airfix actually spend on branding. Yeah. I do wonder if that's a big, when these things happen, where, like for instance, like I was talking about the ambulance, KT ambulance, and then you had Gecko released exactly the same thing, different parts, etc. But they never mentioned Austin K2Y ambulance, did they? No. But they did nothing about it. Austin never did anything about it. So what did Airfix do? They released their truck and just called it the British Army 30 underweight 4x2 GS truck. Didn't even mention Austin in the title. But it isn't Austin. Maybe that's the way around it. If you want to do a Ferrari car now, Tamiya.
No, you'd have to change something because they'll own the design IPR. So you'll have to change something to be minorly inaccurate. Because if you had an exact replica, you're using their intellectual property without permission. And that gets big lawsuits. Because I know in work, we have to go to an IPR team for everything. And if they say no, it's a no.
Yeah.
But that's what they do in China every day.
Yeah, but IPR didn't exist in China.
They just build it with a different badge on the front.
Yeah, but that's because the legal framework is very, very different.
It's mainly because they know their courts will say, "Oh no, it looks nothing like the thing you've got."
Yeah, that's what they did with BMW, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. I mean, okay. Never mind the fact that their BMW variant that the Chinese produced looks like someone really sad and bad at drawing drew a BMW and said, "Right, make one of those." The same as they did with the Mini, and they called.
But
it
also
Mini.
bear in mind, Chinese firms tend to be backed and somewhat owned by the Chinese state.
Yeah,
and like you say, the Americans
firm
can try and do whatever, but they're never going to get money out. They're never going to do whatever. So
the Chinese have been known as big knockoff artists for years and years and years.
But anything that's produced, doesn't matter what it is, anything that's produced that attracts a premium price, someone will copy it. You've only got to go, if you go on the package holiday to Spain, Greece, Turkey, someone on that beach is trying to sell you a pair of Roy Barnes sunglasses or a Googie handbag. They're trying. It's being copied. There's whole stores that sell nothing but counterfeit.
Luke, you go to certain Greek islands and they've got whole streets that do that stuff. There's one in Heraklion. There's one in Heraklion that the local barmen call Fake Street. Oh, you want this? Go to Fake Street.
And it's just a thing, and people will always copy it. But
my clothes are from there, actually.
As are your glasses.
Absolutely. There you go.
Hey, Zintan, I think you live more closer to Trago Mills than what I do. So why you haven't gone and bought that down at Trago for your carpet?
I can say without fear of contradiction that I don't shop there.
You don't? I thought you bought a pair of Ray-Wan from China. There's sunglasses.
Ultimately, it comes down to the consumer, doesn't it? If you want the premium product that's going to do what it says on the tin and last many, many decades, then you spend the money. If you're not that bothered and you just want it to look ish like the premium product, then go and buy a knockoff one for 1/10 of the price. But I guarantee it won't last you.
No.
Yeah.
And in relation to would I pay £2 extra per kit, I don't think it's viable. I don't think they would ever do it. And if you're that bothered about the accuracy, then there are many, many places you can go to get accurate markings, accurate decals, whatever. You can do it.
I was just going to say, it's not the thing about the licensing and the cost of it is a bit of a damp squid, actually, because I think most of the time when it comes to licensing, it's not just paying the money. It's the fact that, for instance, a model company, if they want to say that we want to put this Volvo S740 into a kit, Volvo will probably go, well, we want to see it before you release it, just to make sure that we're happy with what you're releasing. And that's
I don't want their name attached to shite.
Just shite. Yeah. So why? That's why you never see Volvo or Ferraris in Mr. Craft kits. That's why.
I mean, you wouldn't. Hang on. If it was Mr. Craft, you wouldn't need to get licensing because it wouldn't look like it.
Yeah.
If you think about it as a diorama builder, how many 35th scale civilian cars sort of post 1925, how many are out there in kit form?
Well, there's no GIRS, wherever it is. That
No.
I'll tell you what, though, The
There
Italian,
there's a few, but there's not many when you consider how many civilian vehicles have been produced, manufactured en masse.
There's quite a lot of ICM cars, staff cars, military usually.
Yeah, civilian
ones as well.
Civilian.
There are a few civilian ones as well, but they tend to be German.
Yeah, but there's not many. There's not many.
There aren't many, no.
I think the last one to do it, I know AK have just released the Trabi, and the VW. There's been a few sort of VW campers. I think Raval did a whole range of 24 scale ones. I think Hasegawa did some. But the last sort of 35th scale car that I can remember was, I think it was Meng, and they called it German civilian car, but it's quite clearly a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Well, the Tallery did the Fiat 500, didn't they? That's a really good kit. That Fiat 500.
In 35th scale. In 30.
Yeah, but in 35th, not necessarily a car scale. It's 24th and 20th.
But for diorama builders,
they need that scale.
No, and I get why you're saying that, but in terms of the market,
I would argue that's why they haven't done it, because people are crying out for it. That will change with the 3D printing world. Absolutely, that will change. But if you want to do a T90 in a street diorama, well, what's more common in a street than a destroyed or abandoned civilian vehicle? Right? It's so common, but they're just not out there. There's got to be a reason. Got to be a reason.
It's a shame nobody builds a Hilux, isn't it? Because they could be in every diorama.
But don't Meng do one.
AK
they
do
call
one.
it something else.
They do one 35th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they call it 4x4
there you go.
pickup truck.
The Meng model 135 Toyota Hilux pickup.
Wow.
That's what you want.
They did
Is that the
several
one Top Gear
variants.
went to the North Pole in as well?
They did one as technical. They did all sorts of variants of it from memory.
Right, I'm going to play our model show video because we've gone in for over an hour and over 100 minutes. So I'm going to play this and we'll come back to more discussion about problematic brands. Okay. There you are. So
Thanks,
if there's a
Matt.
model
Thanks.
club near you or a model show near you, there's details there on how to find the place, and no pricings, is it, on a lot of these? Turn up when you
I
can.
did see one price in adult entry was £14.
Yeah,
That's a
bit
lot
like-
of money for a local show.
yeah. But don't forget what we pay is model. Scale model clubs. You get 2 tables free and 4 seats, and if you've got 8 you want to go, you got to pay a £5 each for them. So but anyway, that's another debate for another time. I must get is it Andy, who's the head judge of IPMS, to come on again and do his roundup of how it went for the competition at IPMS. So going back to problematic brands and that, I was just wondering, do you think there's any kits out there that have not been released because of licensing? I'm just trying to think of a couple now. When it comes to like World War stuff and that, I don't think it's much of an issue, is it? Because they just bang it out. But any newer stuff, you've not seen a Tesla, have you, in plastic yet? Have you?
No.
Toyota Prius.
never will.
It will come. So if you look at companies like Alpha Model,
Yeah,
car builders, there's not much that they don't do. But bear in mind, they're manufacturing coming out of China, and they're premium end kits. You're going to pay 120 plus for one of those kits. But they are out there, and I think with the advent of 3D printing, you're going to see a lot more subjects that perhaps have been avoided by mainstream manufacturers. But if they become too popular, or the people that, back to Ben's point of intellectual property, if the people that own the intellectual property have got deep pockets and they want to take that individual either to court or issue a cease and desist or whatever, they will. Because Games Workshop do that all the time. All the time.
Yeah. There was a problem with the Kinetic F-16 with a special scheme that got pulled because of disagreements with the designer of the scheme, if I recall. That is interesting. You wouldn't think that a scheme would be intellectual property per se.
Yeah, no, it would be. And anything you generate, Moz, is IP.
I stand to be corrected here, but I'm sure I read somewhere a few years ago that the RAF Roundel was trademarked.
Yeah,
it's Crown copyright from memory. So essentially,
so if they chose to, they could in theory start a lawsuit against anyone producing a Roundel.
But that was the issue anyway back in the day, while we ended up having red spots separate to the rest of it. We had blue, white, and then we had the red spot separate. We had to put it in the middle. But
that's also why the Red Arrows kit, for example, has Crown copyright or mod on it, whatever it is now. Because the Red Arrows as a brand are Crown copyright from memory. And they are, I think, trademarked because, again, world famous. So anything.
How does Lambretta get around that then?
I don't know if the red dot has anything to do with copyright. I think it's more that Airfix couldn't get everything in register.
Yeah,
get 2 colours in register, but not 3.
It was before they went to cartograph anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think now they've gone to cartograph. They're all, it's like an engineering problem rather than a copyright, I think.
There you go. Is the RAF Roundels copyright? No, they're not copyrighted, but it is commercial use is restricted by the Ministry of Defence to present the use of older, historically significant designs. The MOD tried to register the Roundel as a trademark for clothing, but lost the legal battle because it had been in the public use for so many decades.
Yeah, Ben Sherman, I think.
Not Ben Sherman, it was Lambretta, wasn't it?
Lambretta.
Yeah. But there is like licensing for information or commercial use, or licensing consult the Ministry of Defence. So yeah, that's a bit of a strange one. I didn't know that.
How did the Beastie Boys get around the VW symbol?
I don't know. I just think they nicked it from the front of people's cars. And
I think a lot of it comes down to whether or not the company concerned, the owner of the copyright, trademark, intellectual property, or whoever, if they can be bothered to take legal action against others. And again, that a lot of the time is a commercial decision, not a moral one.
Hmm.
Really?
It is.
Yeah.
A commercial decision. If they think they're going to make some cash, and bear in mind, if you're talking about the Ministry of Defence, well, it's got to be pretty financially beneficial to them. They've got quite deep pockets. It's got to be financially beneficial to them to devote the cost and everything else, because they're not using Joe Blogg's solicitors on High Street.
Yeah.
So
an example, I think, of Crown copyright that has now been chosen either not to be used or refused to be used is when Airfix originally came out with their 350 ships. They had Royal Navy branded boxing for a time, and also they had Swordfish, which was like 100 years of flight. That obviously has fallen through the licensing agreement to use the Royal Navy logos, or the fact that mod copyright are just Crown copyright are not allowing them to use it. So it's very commonplace with IP is a bit of a minefield.
Decision.
Yeah. Oh, it's all commercial.
It is. Of course it is. I mean, for example, I may or may not know, allegedly, that there are certain vehicles on the road in the UK that if they're involved in an accident, the excess on the insurance, which is Crown insurance, is £80,000.
Wow.
So quite often, the organisation that are using said vehicle will pay out of court because the cost is less than £80,000, so they don't claim on Crown insurance. They just pay it. Maybe.
Well, caveat that wasn't legal advice or anything in that form.
No.
Meanwhile, back at the Ponderosa.
Lots of American muscle.
Yeah. Here's a thought. There was a period of time when tobacco advertising was banned in F1, so the likes of Ferrari didn't have the word Marlboro on it, but had the rest of their logo. And the Jordan team, which was sponsored by Benson and Hedges, changed it to Be On Edge. So could kit makers still get away with that sort of thing? Or does the copyright go deeper?
Normally the cigarette companies own that. So Marlboro, for example, they're obviously famous on the McLarens, but when they went to Ferrari, I think it's about 2007, 2006, they went to like a barcode. Or they then went to another one branding, which was called Mission Winnow, which was basically mission reflected, but made absolutely no sense to anybody. It's like, who is this Mission Winnow? Who are they? No one knows who they are, and they're like sponsoring Ferrari. It's basically a shell company for Marlboro. So it would take you to a website that wasn't to do anything with Formula One, nothing to do with cigarettes, but it just all it had at the bottom was copyright Marlboro. So even all the fake ones or the shell companies that came after, you would still have to get their permission to use. And again, Formula One cars, certainly from the 2000s onwards, they are just a moving advertising board. So you would have to go to every single one of those companies, in theory, to try and get those decals, approved, essentially. And that comes back to the schemes. And I think for like Nigel's Toyotas, for example, Tamiya have Toyota Gazoo Racing, and if they have a partner agreement with Toyota Gazoo, in theory, they don't need to contract every single person on that scheme because Toyota Gazoo own the overall right, because effectively they subcontracted out to the relevant smaller teams, because obviously Toyota are getting paid to have those brands on the car. So if Toyota Gazoo is the brand, say, okay, we're fine, we're happy with this, generally you can produce a scheme in full. There's only a few ones that probably won't go onto the car for legal reasons. So like, I think in WEC still, they're a bit like Formula One. They advertise alcohol, which is banned. in certain countries, or the brand will change. So, like in the Qatar GP this week, Ferrari, instead of having Peroni 0, had Italia 0, which again, because of how model people are, etc. If you had the wrong brand for the wrong scheme or whatever, it was just, it would be, the world would melt down. But essentially, if you could in theory deal with the team, who will then deal with the brands on their car. But not every team is set up that way. Toyota Gazoo, I think, is, hence why Tamiya can produce the kits. But I bet if you go to Ferrari will say, yeah, we can do that for an absolutely massive amount of cash. Or will, for our license, it will still cost a massive amount of cash, not as much, but now you've got to go speak to all the rest of them if you want it on the car. It's just not worth their time, essentially, or money. They won't make enough money in it.
I thought advertising on Formula One cars has done a bit different because it's all appliqued onto the cars as sponsorship, so they get to use those symbols free, don't they?
They do, but it's down to the decision of the team, and it depends what's in the contract of the sponsorship. So, for example, I think Barago in the diecast world produce all the Ferraris, but certain decals are missing off the Barago cars. You can't get them.
Yeah, but it's different. I'm talking about real Formula One cars because they're sponsored by Marlboro and whoever knows who else. It's part of the deal that they have to have that design on the vehicle.
So on the actual vehicle, yes.
Yeah.
But on the actual vehicle. But then when it comes to miniatures, they're not going to write in a contract, by the way, we can produce miniatures with your brand on. Like Luke said, we as an industry, or the miniatures and the toys as an industry, probably Formula One is now the only anomaly to this. But generally, we wouldn't even come into consideration for those sorts of agreements. So you would, in theory, when you get into the contract, you'd have to look at the lines and go, does it explicitly let us use our brand on miniatures? If not, we'd have to renegotiate it, or it would be an additional fee. I think now it's changed with Formula One slightly because they've got so many tie-ups, they're so commercially successful that probably when it comes into branding now, the newer models of all these cars coming out are getting more and more and more accurate to the scheme. Because I think basically they're putting in contracts, any merchandise, because they won't call it miniatures, it'll be like any merchandise, we will put your brand on if we feel a fit, but we'll basically, you'll have the say on the product quality control, normally something like that, because obviously people want to protect their brand image.
Yeah, but
I've just had
sorry.
Go on, John, and I'll speak after you.
Just saying that only applies if you're paying for a license to put a logo onto a miniature, doesn't it?
No.
Well, it does, but then you run the risk of with these big brands, you'd get sued to hell if you didn't even attempt to get the license.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. So, I mean, for a Formula One car, can you imagine it in 43rd scale? You'd have to have licenses from like 20 different companies, wouldn't you?
Well, no, because they're all done through one. So Ferrari will be the owner of the IP of the car with the logos on. So you would only negotiate with Ferrari in theory. You wouldn't necessarily negotiate with every independent party. But again, it depends how the teams are set up.
It depends on the small print of their deal.
Yes.
So, yeah, John, you're absolutely right that these companies have to pay essentially for advertising space on that vehicle to put their logo on it. However, what you will find in that all of these companies that are paying a significant amount of money to put the smallest of logos on a Formula One car, they will write into their contract that that's not to be used on any merchandise, etc., etc. Someone's commented in the chat about Louis Vuitton. Classic example. They will pay a phenomenal amount of money to put their logo on Formula One cars. But if you try to put their logo on a T-shirt as merchandise, they're going to sue you because it's not a Louis Vuitton T-shirt.
No.
I just had a text here from our friends from Airfx. It's the firms that look after the licenses on behalf of the companies are the main problem. The licensing companies only earn their money if they enforce these licenses. Certain museums would love to have us looking at aircraft, but the licensing firms want a slab of flesh for letting us.
Yeah.
It's like these firms who troll YouTube hunting down channels that have certain music samples. They go after the offending channel, then go to the firm, report the infringement, and take a cut from the legal outcome. So maybe the reason why the Bearcat hasn't been made in plastic by Airfix is because of those.
Because I think so. Like Ferrari's intellectual property, it's not someone in Ferrari who's looking after that.
No.
It will be a firm of very well-paid lawyers who are looking after that. And if they think there's a commercial opportunity by enforcing the intellectual property, then they'll take it. If they don't think it's commercially viable, then they won't. And lawyers are brutal.
Question for John and Jim.
Yeah.
Question for John and Jim with American-produced kits, and there are some lovely car kits over there. Do those firms hit licensing issues?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be the same. They have this. It's like a holographic. It's like a little holographic sticker. This is licensed by, whoever, and I'm sure that adds cost to the kit, right? Because they're going to pass that on to me.
Yeah. Oh dear, the reason I've not got my Concorde is because there's a licensing agreement to Concorde. But I blame the French on that one. They put an E on the end. They put an E on the end, didn't they, of Concorde? Bastards.
Yeah. It's owned by Airbus now anyway, so.
And we've got a good relationship with Airbus anyway, so I won't worry too much. I think, do you know what? A lot of these companies, I reckon, would love to get their kits made into some sort, get their vehicles made into a kit so people can appreciate. Look at, the fanfare of Hamilton's Ferrari, not Ferrari, was it? No, what was it? The Mercedes. The fanfare that was put out there, Mercedes were giving away free Lego kits of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes, wasn't it, and things like that. It's.
But I think it will always come back to whichever company it is, whichever brand, they're going to want to verify the quality of the product that their brand's attached to.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the likes of Mercedes aren't going to allow, just because it gets their name out there, they're not going to allow Mr. Craft to produce a kit of a Mercedes whatever. Lego, on the other hand, who is a massive, massive company, absolutely, let's do a Lego one. How many times do you think Mercedes marketing people or lawyers have gone over that Lego kit before it went anywhere near the public?
Yeah.
They want to be satisfied that the quality of the product is worthy of the Mercedes brand.
But then again, that's why a Lego car is bloody expensive. You cannot tell me.
Yep.
You cannot tell me that Death Star that's 1,100 quid, 1,100 quid it is, isn't. That's not the cost of the plastic. That's what Disney have put their chunk of change.
Course it is.
Yeah, of course it is.
Of course it is. I mean, how much is one of those Lego Technic cars, like the Bugatti, for example? What is it, like 200 quid or something?
My Ferrari cost 199.
Yeah. But that's the reason. It didn't cost Lego 200 quid to design and produce that kit. It's nowhere near that. It's all branded.
Surely the more exposure of your brand, the better. So why the fuss? Get your logo everywhere. Isn't that the way advertising is about? Right. I get that. I see that. But also they want to protect their brand. Here's one example for you. You will never see the bad man in a film on an Apple phone, but you'll see the good guy using Apple. And there you go. They you can use our product in your television show. Yes, you can. But if it's the bad guy and he's on the phone on an iPhone shooting up heroin, that's a no-no. You know what I mean? That's the Apple way. You know what I mean?
See, gone are the days, I think, where there's no such thing as bad PR.
No.
I think those days have gone. So I understand the sentiment to You know, the more the brand is out there, the better. But a lot of these more premium brands,
I mean, for example, in response to
that's not the case.
This comment, I mean, Andrew Baton Windsor is, you know, doing cheap advertising at the minute, but I'm pretty certain no brands want to touch it with a barge pole.
Yeah, and you've only got to look at the amount of people that have had sponsorship cancelled and that sort of thing, or companies have had sponsorship cancelled over the last 2 decades because one of these individuals has perhaps said something in haste, and that brand has decided, although that brand is going to be everywhere for a month because it will be on every front page of every Broad Street newspaper, whatever it may be. But they've decided at that point to release a statement and say we're drawing sponsorship of this particular individual company because we don't agree. It doesn't fit our brand ethos. And therefore, these people are cancelled. Happens all the time.
Here's an idea. There was a time, and everybody here is old enough to maybe even Ben, to remember in movies, product placement, companies would pay to have that can of Pepsi or Coke or whatever. The movie. Now we've come full circle, and now the companies have to go pay them to put it in their movie. It's all backwards now. It's kind of crazy.
Which is proof that the brand marketing people for Pepsi, for example, have done an absolutely fantastic job. Because they spent years and years saying, please, please, please put this in your TV show. Please, please, please put this in your movie. Please put it here, there, and everywhere. Now it's a recognizable brand. Now these producers and TV companies and whatever are having to go to that company and ask them if they can put their product in there.
I think it was the Truman Show.
So it's a great
Jim Carrey film that did it.
That's a great movie.
Where it was like obviously the reality TV back in the 90s or whatever, where they go, she randomly pulls out this hot chocolate going, blah, 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 from like the slopes of Mount Nicaragua. And like you say, once upon a time it was paid, whereas now you have to pay them to feature it. Well done to the marketing teams.
Yeah, exactly. It is this way it is, isn't it? You know, it's strange how it's all turned full circle when it comes to advertising. It's like, people, I've often wondered whether one day Airfix will say, Moz, get rid of the channel name like that. You know what I mean? Get rid of, I call it. But I think, I've spoken to Dale about it, and he actually gets the joke. A lot of people get the joke, don't they? And even the guys from Hella, when we did the interview, and I said, why is it called Airfix and Chill? Are you Airfix only? I said, no, it's kind of a regret of mine. People assume this is about Airfix. It's not. It's about scare modeling. But it was a play on words. And as soon as I said that, he went, oh, Netflix and Chill. Yeah, that's right. Airfix, so, yeah. And but they said, good, like you said, getting into, getting your name out there. It's like when you see somebody and they're wearing a certain brand and they get in trouble and you think, oh, I wonder what that brand is. And you look it up and it's, there's no such thing as bad PR anymore. You can spin it to whichever way you want to. And like I said, the prime example was when Airfix did that release of the Messerschmitt and they put up saying we're going to be releasing something on Thursday. What did they say? Hashtag not a Spitfire. They used that negative in their advertising, the fact that they were going to be releasing a brand new 124 scale tooling at Telford. Hashtag not a Spitfire. They own it. They actually own it now, don't they? About, not another Spitfire. When you see people...
There's a lot of very intelligent, very experienced people where advertising, marketing is their thing. But the reality is any brand, doesn't matter whether it's cornflakes, model kits, phones, whatever it may be, they will allow certain things whilst it benefits them.
Yeah.
Once it goes past the point where they then think, so Airfix and Chill, for example, I would argue Airfix is quite a small company within a larger group, isn't it?
Mm.
So Airfix and Chill has a reach within the hobby.
Yeah.
So it benefits Airfix to allow their name to be used for a Monday night live stream that ends up being seen by lots and lots of people connected to the hobby. It benefits them. But who's to say in 30 years' time, whoever's in charge of their brand and their marketing and everything else still feels that it benefits them? And it's at that point that their legal department goes cease and desist. And that's the same with every brand, every single brand. Whilst it benefits them or it's perceived to benefit them, they will allow it to continue.
Sure.
Once that stops and they see it as no longer benefiting them, then they're going to tell whoever it is or whatever organization it is to stop doing it. And if they don't stop doing it, then they're going to sue them.
Yeah. Sue me now, Dale. So sue you for the back and 124.
Have to change it to Grumpy Old Modelers.
Yeah, it could do. I thought of other names for it, but you know,
we've got Ben, and Ben's like,
You could call it Airfix.
Airfix, yeah. But like I said, yeah, it's. I always think about it because people say, "Was it? Are you sponsored by Airfix?" No, it's not that. It was just a play on words, and we did a little live stream, 5 of us, and I just called it Airfix and Chill. And I think at the time I just said to him, I goes, "Oh, so Netflix, just put Airfix," and it was like good. And then over time, it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't even say when people speak to me, I call it Chill now. I just say, "You coming on? Do you watch Chill?" That's why I don't even mention Airfix. I just call it Chill, as like a shortened term, and they all know what I mean when I say that.
That's correct.
But then I don't invite the missus over to Airfix and Chill with me. She'll be pretty pissed off there when they'll be telling me extra things. Not really pleasant enough for her, is it?
But that's the same with a lot of brands. So Airfix and Chill is well known, isn't it? Certainly within the UK modelling community, everyone knows what it is. So you can call it Chill. You shorten it.
Yeah.
They know what it is. The same as if you look on an international scale, everyone calls it a Coke.
Yes.
That's exactly not the name of it. It's called Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But everyone knows what a Coke is.
Yeah.
And also, I think we've also got the print, and I think I also get away. If I called it Revel and Chill, it would be more associated with, you're talking about Revel or Hella and Chill. You know what I mean? But because Airfix is like the brand name Hoover,
yes,
I think that kind of covers it as well. People associate Airfix with scale modeling where they wouldn't necessarily with Hella, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then the same with Hoover and vacuum cleaners and
Heroes.
satellite TV to Sky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How many people, certainly in the UK, it may be different in other parts of the world, but certainly in the UK say, I'm just going to do the hoovering.
Yeah.
They've probably never owned a Hoover. They've probably got a Dyson.
Exactly.
But they still do the hoovering.
Yeah. Dad, am I supposed to see the missus after watching this? Just asking. No, you put it on the background, mate. That's what you do. Yeah. Because you're a bit Moz, not Zvesta and Chill. Well, yeah, don't talk to me about Zvesta, not because they're Russian, but because they produce a crap Su-57. Bastards, honestly. It's gone in the bin now anyway. What a load of shite that
did you not like it?
It went,
be direct, man. Say what you mean.
I've only ever built one Zvesta kit. That was actually nice.
Are you sure it was accurate though? Because to be fair, if you look at how the real thing's bolted together, it might be really accurate.
No, it was bollocks. It wouldn't. The engine intakes weren't fitted right. Glued them in. Could I get the intakes looking square? Could I help? And at this point in time, I grabbed it, snapped it in half, threw it in the bin. and I thought, Vesda, you. But after talking to 4 or 5 people who have built that kit, 3 of them have also said that they put theirs in the bin as well. It just is
What
not.
kit is it, Mark?
SG57
one.
148.
What's
That turned out
148
quite nice.
SG57?
Yeah, you're gonna go away now. There's no such thing as a shit kit, and then you build it. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That wasn't warped.
Yeah. Nigel's right. When I tell people I have a YouTube channel for scale models, they reply, "What, like Airfix and shit?"
Absolutely.
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So I think certainly within the UK, it's such a recognisable brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You know.
almost a generic British name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just the word fix. And
Is it the
Netflix.
same in the US? Is it the same in the US? Does everyone say Airfix?
No.
Yeah, at Airfix.
Yeah, but isn't the brand in America Monogram?
AMT Ertl.
People, it's AMT. It's an American
It's
company.
AMT, it's Monogram, but no, I missed part of that question because I was looking at the
Born.
at the avatar on BP 8339. I've been told I look like that, so.
That
So-
is accurate.
No. So no, Monogram is not Airfix. Is
No.
what was the question? Is it on how the pronunciation or
No,
what?
no, it's what's the model company that's associated like we have in Airfix here?
We don't have one now,
So you
except
don't
for maybe AMT, but they don't.
But
They haven't
AMT,
put out
that's the
anything
thing, yeah.
new in forever. So
So if you said to someone that has nothing to do with scale modeling, they don't know any different in a bar, coffee shop, whatever, and said, I build scale models, would they be likely to turn around and say, what, like Airfix?
no, they wouldn't have a
No.
clue.
Okay. Because here they do. It's a
Right.
thing in the UK.
And that's probably, if you look at it, that's probably why this whole discussion got started about a certain national marking that has been tilted and whatever.
Yeah.
That lightning storm amongst the community because you guys identify with Airfix as the lifeblood of scale modeling on your island. And I'm just like, I don't get it, and John probably would say the same thing. Okay, we do get it. We understand because it is such a big thing over there. We can't
Absolutely.
get it.
Yeah, it's
over-
Airfix.
Yeah, it's Airfix. We understand it from afar but here we don't have that. We
Correct.
It'd be kind of Monogram, but even when we had Monogram, it was just another company amongst all the other ones. Yeah, they're made in Illinois, okay, but it wasn't that fierce brand loyalty.
Right.
It was just like, well, you take it or leave it. It's just another company.
We do not have anything like Airfix
See,
as it is to you there in the UK. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I think I know in mainland Europe, we don't say I do Airfix as a hobby. I know you don't. But I know for a fact that Airfix was massively big in Europe right the way from the beginning of time. And they would probably, they would probably say, they would associate Airfix with scale modeling. Unlike Japan, where they would assume Tamiya over there. But I think England and Europe, Airfix was quite big when it comes to scale modeling with plastic. But yeah, it's,
That's a house.
it's like everything. It's like when people say, I like to paint. And you would say to them back, oh, my numbers. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, you like that? No, I properly paint. Oh, yeah, with numbers.
I just say, can you sort my fence out, please?
Yeah.
Do you want it in
plumber?
humble or do you want it in?
Here's something funny.
Yeah.
Jim.
My wife will it'll come up in conversation with her friends or whatever, and she'll somehow it'll be, she'll say, yeah, my husband does modeling. And oh, really? And then it just gets all spun up. She goes, oh, no, you don't understand. He builds model airplanes. And it's like, oh, and then just like the air going on.
So what was the last in Vogue magazine sort of thing like?
Probably the guy in his underpants sort of pointing and staring out into space for some bizarre reason. They used to get the old catalogs here.
Yeah. So yeah, Alt 92 said Airfix, Matchbox, and Revell first. Then Hasegawa came along in the 70s, followed by Tamiya, and and Owen's saying, yeah, not a good idea in Germany to say hair fixer, maybe. Yeah, okay. Tamiya have been going for years. Yeah, I get that, but they weren't going for years over here. That's the thing, you know. I think if you talk to most people who just build Tamiya now, I think it was more 90s when Tamiya first really hit over here. Yeah, Frog's another one. You got Matchbox for me was more diecast than actual scale model kits. And that's always been the way. Yeah, you know.
Whereas I guess in the US, people would say Hot Wheels. That would be their go-to, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Whereas here it would be Matchbox cars.
Yeah, Kirchhoff was saying Airfix is saying big in Europe, like Revell and Edard.
Yeah.
And then you see, yeah, it's up there. It's up there. So I wish more American kits would appear in the UK. I get that, Migs. You know, so do I. I wish the Airtool AMC
ours are crap.
They're crap.
I was going to say, careful.
Maybe Copper State, and even Copper State now comes from Latvia, right? So
they got bought out.
We make terrible kits.
When we made kits.
All I'm saying is, the majority of us, when we were building model kits, would buy our model kits from the local newsagent or W.H. Smith or somewhere like that, Woolworths. Right? Tamiya never really kicked in heavy. I think my first saw a Tamiya kit was around the mid 90s, maybe at the end of the 90s, 2000.
Yeah,
but I think I get what you're saying, Paul. Yeah, they were big. They weren't.
They didn't become mainstream until the 90s.
They weren't. Yeah, they weren't mainstream in the 90s. They were probably specialists, like, you know. So, Revell, Matchbox, Airfix, you could pick them up dime a dozen. You know what I mean? In model shops or local news agents. Same with Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. It was always, you go in there, you'll either spend your 20p on a Mars bar or 10p on a Milky Way, or you'll save up your Mars bars, and 10 Mars bars later, you'll be able to afford a Matchbox kit or an Airfix kit for £1.90.
And I think it's even today in 2025, it's about that brand being recognizable and familiar to many, many people. And that's why people have no idea about the hobby. If you say I build scale models or I build little plastic tanks or whatever, people will automatically, in the main, say, what, like Airfix?
Yeah, they will.
That will be their go. That's what they recognize as a scale model is Airfix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question. When you guys were growing up over there on the island, where did you source your kits? Was it primarily department stores or the toy sections in department stores or things like that?
Yeah.
See, over
news
here,
agents.
Okay, over here, maybe a Sears might have maybe something like that, but we had proper hobby shops. And you'd go in and they'd have the remote control aircraft, they'd have the remote control cars, they'd have the HO or all the train stuff, and they'd have the model section, and then the toys would be on one side. It was just like one big store. I grew up, just a few miles from one. I was in there all the time. But we didn't. To me, that's where most of our stuff was at a specific type of a store for that, not just going to you wouldn't go. Well, we didn't have newsstands, but you wouldn't go to a bookstore looking for a model kit. That wouldn't happen.
Well, I think I've got. Go on, who's going to speak? Because I've got my theory on that. Because I think it wasn't really model shops as such. It was more model railway. You know, there was a lot more model railway shops than there were scale model shops. Basically, you go to a model railway shop and they'll have a bit of Airfix in the corner. For me, it was going to the local news agents and seeing them on the top shelf. If you want to, I know a lot of people don't live around here, but say you want to go to Butlins in Minehead, go to Minehead. There is a classic news agent that sell all different kinds of model kits there. That
Oh,
was how it was back in my day.
We would go to Woolworths as was, and WH Smith's as was, you know, and WH Smith's you could buy bloody staples and paper clips and a model kit and some of the bits and pieces. And then where I lived, one of my school pals said, "Oh, have you been into the art shop?" And I wouldn't step foot in an art shop, so I can't draw or paint or anything like that. And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because they've got this Japanese stuff in there, this Tamiya." I went in and bought one. I bought a Chieftain tank. It was the first Tamiya kit I ever bought, and I was amazed by it. And it was a specialist retail product for many years, and then it began to find its way into other places as well. But it took a very long time because it was a highly specialist thing. Because you wouldn't make a Tamiya kit unless you really had a good handle on making models, because you were going to spend a lot of money, comparatively speaking, on it compared to an Airfix or a Revell or whatever else it might be. Therefore, you had to be pretty sure you weren't going to mess this up. You know, I was going to say fuck then, but I didn't. Thank you.
That's what I've already said swastika on here once, right?
Oh, 10 pence in a swear jar.
No, I have a different word for that particular symbol. I've told you what it is in the private chat. You should substitute that word wherever possible.
The knob's crossed.
Yeah, indeed.
Knob.
No, you didn't, you know, but it was specialist anyway. That was the thing about it. And we didn't have a Hobby Lobby or a Hub Hobby or anything like that. You know, we have these days a thing called Hobbycraft, but it's a bit like your newsagent where the models are in one corner somewhere, but it's not a specialist thing, you know.
I think it's a good question because sorry, just quickly, everyone's either saying newsagents for Airfix and then BTs and the like for Tamiya, you know, so high end stuff. You know, a lot of them are saying newsagents. Tamiya was out of our price range in the 70s, you know, so you can go through and see that. Yeah, I think that was, you know, you get them in Woolworths occasionally, you know, so you can go down through. But Nigel's saying here that you had them in Walmart, Kmart, and Sears because he used to buy them there.
Yeah, but they were such a small selection. At least the ones I had here in Phoenix, they were, you know, you'd go over there and you look and you were there for 3 minutes and it's like the same old stuff. So you go into the proper hobby shop and it's just like you could spend hours in there looking as a kid looking. So Target, well, we used to have a thing called FedMart that then Target got bought out. But where I got my very first model kit that I wasn't allowed to build. But you know, it's Nigel's right, but it wasn't a thing per se. Most kids back then for us.
The post office for Matchbox, yeah, true. Somebody said they used to have a little spinny thing. I used to see all the die-cast cars on there. I used to have like a spinny rotor thing to spin
in the post office.
Yeah, in the post office.
I'm young enough that the post office never sold it. They only ever sold letters.
Well, I wouldn't go to a post office because everybody was claiming their dole money on a Thursday. It's we had the door. I grew up in a small town in the 1970s where, apart from Woolworths, there were 3 shops selling various kits. I live in a city now, and there isn't one. Yeah, I get that. And there was one shop that I went to also said kits from Revell, Hella, and Airfix, and maybe a few others who rented out videos. So yeah, they were everywhere back in the day, you know, and that was it. And if you watch my history of Airfix, you know, my video, I explained to you there that, you know, Airfix decided that Woolworths was not the only game in town to go selling their kits, and they did pop up in hardware stores, newsagents everywhere. So, yeah, and I remember the spinny things with Airfix blister packs. Yep, Nigel, those bag kits always on a spinny thing, on a spinny rack. So, well, I think we've left on a positive note tonight after starting off a little bit under the blackness of certain things, but I hope you understood why I wanted to do that. It wasn't just particularly about one logo. It was about the whole idea of being problematic, and as we've heard tonight also, that, you know, things have to be signed off on certain models as well because of licensing. I think they're just protecting their IP, is what Ben was saying. It's more about protecting their IP, but also there's a lot that are out there that these firms want their pound of flesh, and I think that's why sometimes you don't see the kits that you want because of that. But anyways, Again, thanks all for watching. Luke, thank you for joining us. Jim, Barry, John, Alec, Ben, Mike, John, and Zinzan, thanks for watching tonight. And we'll be back next week. I haven't got a topic yet, but if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, please join us on Discord. There is a Discord. If you look in the link, if you look in the description box below, there is a Discord. And I'd rather you message me on that now, because everywhere else I was losing track of things. So yeah, on Discord now. It's called the Mod 6510 Scale Model Club, I think it's called. I know it's called, actually, though I said that. But anyway, again, thanks all for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your week. Take care, and goodbye.